But so an earning capacity, what is it and how do we establish it?
So the court's going to consider how long it's been since you've been out of the job market, like how long you haven't worked, what you were earning in the past, what your educational background is. So for example, if you have somebody who's been out of the job market for 20, 30 years and is just getting back into the job market, and maybe when they went in, they were earning $80,000, they're not going to go back into the job market 20 years later and earn $80,000. So it's going to have to be reasonable, commensurate with their experience and how long they've been out. If they have relatively low experience and they don't have a lot of education, then a typical starting point might be around $30,000 a year. And there's a saying from a former hearing officer that I won't state. We call it like a walk and talk earning capacity. That if you can walk, you can talk, you can work and earn $30,000 a year.
Yeah,
that's a typical capacity.
I advise people, unless there is something significant, and I mean significant, you're going to walk out of a courtroom with a $30,000 earning capacity, like Tiffany's saying. And so I usually just say, age, education, and experience. What's your age, what's your education, your experience? Don't come in and say, I have a law degree and I haven't worked in 10 or 15 years, but my earning capacity is 25, 30,000. Sorry, it's just not. You can get a job at the county, potentially. I just use that as the best example, and you're going to... A law clerk.
There's lots of lawyers who didn't like being lawyers. When I was a hearing officer, so there were periods of time there were unemployed, stay-at-home mom, people who have been lawyers, and it was, what is a law clerk?
Right.
Could they be a law clerk?
Right. So, you're not going to, it's not what you want to do, it's what you need to do. Sorry to say.
And with the recent change in the support law, so if you have a $30,000 earning capacity, they will consider the cost of what daycare would be if you were working, earning $30,000.
Right. And so, like Tiffany said, sometimes it doesn't make sense for someone to go back.
Right. Like if you have 3 kids under the age of 3, your daycare is going to probably vastly exceed what your income would be, especially if you're only at a $30,000.
Right. And so any advice to get a job is always going to be tempered with your reality, what your facts are. So yes, but if your kids are school age, that's the place where I think it probably comes up more, because your kids are school age, therefore that parent may or may not have been home now for about a decade. If they have a 10-year-old, 8-year-old, 6-year-old, and all of a sudden they're in a situation where they are expected to go back to work and they haven't worked in 10 years. Well, yeah, that feels uncomfortable. But your kids are at school age, and I say to those people, okay, get a job bus stop hours, and that's going to be supported by the court. Okay, do bus stop hours. That doesn't mean it lasts forever, but it's a good starting point, so that you're not paying the child care. And I know my job isn't to be a therapist, but I also think it's part of your self-esteem. I mean, part of this process is very draining. It's emotional. It's hard. And working and supporting yourself raises how you feel about yourself and what your kids see. So do it for yourself and for your kids to show that you're strong and you can do it. I think that's important.